Hello, everyone, and in the latest Locked On Canadiens, RIP CapFriendly, and more draft day shenanigans.
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1088 of Locked On Canadiens. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more, because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. We are, of course, your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every day of the week in 30-minute shows wherever you find your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or if you are watching us here on YouTube.com as well. I am one of your hosts. I am Scott Matla. I am dealing with allergies. My co-host is dealing with allergies. And of course, I am joined as always by the wonderful active stick, Laura Saba. And Laura, we are both fighting with our nasal cavities today, I think.
It is my semi-annual sinus thing when allergy season starts. I get this in the spring, I get this in the fall. I thought I escaped it because we're almost in summer, but it turns out it's not. So I do apologize for my voice, but I do have opinions today, so everyone get ready.
Yes, and we're going to just jump right into this. And I know that there's some Habs news we want to talk about and stuff, but the biggest news is, and we didn't get to fit this into yesterday's episode because it broke after we had recorded yesterday's episode. So we are getting to it today with about 24 hours to have marinated on this a little bit. The website CapFriendly, and I, with all due respect to some of the other sites that we're going to discuss in this, it is the resource for people looking up contract information, trade details, everything. CapFriendly, and I believe they said it would be July 5th, after the NHL free agency and stuff is over, is going to go dark because they have been purchased by the Washington Capitals of the NHL, making them now Caps friendly, I guess is the way to look at it. And my first thought is I'm happy the people who run that site created this and keep it up to date with everything. Absolute bravo. Secure your bag and celebrate your success. They have made something truly incredible. I have nothing but well wishes for them. On the other side of things, the Washington Capitals, they had a bunch of other innocuous tweets. The news broke and they posted something about their AHL team, and they were inundated with people being so angry and upset at the news on this, which understandably so. But CapFriendly is being bought out by the Washington Capitals. I am devastated because we use CapFriendly, especially going into free agency in the offseason and whatever. We use CapFriendly for everything. It is the easiest, simplest, with so many tools built in to use website. And the hockey community is worse off for not having it available to them starting in August.
So from my perspective, this is a huge loss for the community, because it's not like there aren't other sites out there. It's just that this site had the partnerships with the NHL teams. They had agreements with the NHL teams. They were dialed in. They had the most accurate information. They often broke signings because they would be posted on CapFriendly as opposed to, or before the team released, the news item or press release. But from my perspective too, like I am, the people that built this tool worked really hard, and they have the right to sell to whoever they want. So they're not the people we should be angry with right now. I do also understand why people are angry with the Washington Capitals, and to be honest, I am too. Essentially what they're doing is, I don't even know necessarily that they even need all of that. It's just that they're trying to take it away from other GMs, which is smart. It's good business. It's capitalism, but it sucks because it wasn't just other NHL teams that were getting their information. It was all of the hockey community. It was fans. It was us. It was media, credentialed media, insider media. Everybody used CapFriendly, and they did such a good job. I'm going to miss it a lot. And it's just going to make it a little bit harder to talk about. Like, there are sites there that are trying to deliver a little bit of salary breakdowns, let's say, but they don't have the same tools. It's not as easy. It's not as intuitive. It's not free. And that's the part to me where I'm like, if I would have paid a small amount to keep this free. Like, if all fans got together and paid a small amount to keep this available to the public, I would have done that. But it didn't seem like that's something that was ever on the table. The Caps just swooped in, and now everybody hates them. And you know what? I hate them too.
It's kind of wild for me, is that because like I am looking at one of their replacements. I'm looking at Puckpedia right now. And it's, it does what I need it to do. It, gives me an idea of the breakdown and everything on there. The biggest thing for me is that, one, if your team relied solely on CapFriendly to do its job in maintaining its contracts and everything else, you have not put together a strong team, unfortunately. I hate to tell you that right now. But the bigger issue is I don't understand why the Caps need this. I don't fully understand why they need to buy this site. It's publicly available information that they can use. And if you're hiding it from another team, they still have their own capologists. There's still other sites that they can use. It feels very just bizarre in that I do not understand why a team did this. More so than anything else in the world, it just feels like, well, I don't want other people to have this. That to me is, and we don't know how much they paid to buy the site, to be quite honest. This does remind me a lot of when Extra Skater, one of the original like OG stats sites, was bought up, and a certain network of blogs threw a huge fit about it, but that's neither here nor there. It's just wild to think that this is what's going to happen right now. It doesn't feel the same as I'm trying to get now used to one of the new sites. And the biggest two that I think people are going to recommend are Sport Track, SPORTRAC, and Puckpedia. Puckpedia does also have the handy tool of you can look up agents and who represents people on there, which I'm sure that their traffic has been through the roof recently. And I'm hoping they get some server support for that. I don't understand why a team felt the need to buy this out. Analytically, if they're buying like Corey Schneider's, website and model to use for their team to analyze things, I understand why you want that data just for yourself and not available to everybody. Like when Extra Skater was bought by, I believe it was Vegas at the time, you're looking for an edge. Buying up, and this is very much simplifying what CapFriendly does, buying up a contract website doesn't click here, and it just feels very petty and unnecessary.
And that's the thing, like, eventually there's another site that's going to pop up, and the teams now having experienced this and the Caps taking this away, like, what is stopping all these other teams from like going into business with Puckpedia or whoever else comes up that is a competitor to CapFriendly? You know what I mean? Like, the other teams are just gonna, it's gonna make them not petty, but they're gonna realize the need in the market. And then, eventually there's gonna be a thing where like 30 people have a contract with an NHL team for like mining other people's salaries. Which, competition is good. Like, this is just, unless there was something else proprietary that the Caps really wanted, I get it, but it just, at least it's up until free agency, but 5 days after free agency, it's going to go dark. And I don't think that that's, there's still so much stuff we want to analyze. Like, how are we going to prepare any of our content for the summer without our good CapFriendly? And that's it. Like, you have seen us on this podcast. As one of us is talking, the other one is typing away and looking at CapFriendly. I was literally just looking up headlines about CapFriendly right now. But generally, when we do have one of those, like, should the Habs sign this person? Should they trade this person? What's a good return for this? What's a good salary for this? CapFriendly was our go-to. It is like a Bible for us. And that's why for us, we're devastated. And I know, like, it wasn't just us as podcasters, you as fans too. Like, we all used it. So it's a bit upsetting. My cold is preventing me from being a little bit more articulate, but I think we've all kind of made our point. It was a poor move by the Washington Capitals, but all power to the site founders.
And that's the thing is like, good, get paid for your hard work. You deserve it. At the time there. And I can't be mad at them. It's just one of those things that it baffles me, and it came so out of nowhere for everything. So we do have to shift gears a little bit. There is some draft talk coming from our friends at Elite Prospects, and we're going to dive into everyone's, I'm not going to call them divisive, but a little bit divisive prospect coming up next. But first, it is so hard to sit down and seriously think about the future. And with that is life insurance. A lot of life is unpredictable, but good life insurance gives you and your family financial safety nets to protect against some of the unknowns out there. And with Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. It is not easy to sit down and parse through all these details and all these words and jargon. Policy Genius is convenient and time saving. Policy Genius helps you compare all your options from America's top insurers in just a few clicks, and their award-winning agents can talk you through the process step by step. So get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description below to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. And that's policygenius.com. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens, and we're diving in from, hey, one of our favorite websites is going away to, hey, one of these top draft prospects might be available or might not. We don't know because the NHL draft is unpredictable. It is often, and I say this in the kindest hearted way I can, often very stupid.
Yes.
And I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And when I said, I guess, divisive, I should tell everyone, I'm not talking about Beckett Seneca in this time here. This is actually Ivan Demidov. Demidov?
Yeah, Demidov.
Yes.
So
had he told us and I still got it wrong, it's fine.
It's okay. You got me to correct you. All right. So basically, the last couple of days, we're getting the same rumblings about Demidov as we were about Matvei Michkov. When is he coming over? What's his next step? That might deter teams. Some teams are suspicious. Some teams, blah, blah, blah. He has stated that he wants to come play here. I don't understand what is so ambiguous about that. Like, he wants to be an NHLer. The fact that he refuses to sign in a KHL team has him banished right now to sign an extension, has him banished now to the MHL, where his own development is suffering. But that's also another thing. People are like, oh, he's not playing against good competition. He's not going to be worth that high value draft pick. I want everyone to calm down a little bit, because we had this thing with Matvei Michkov. The Flyers got a good player. It is going to be a delay. We all know that. And with Demidov, we don't even know if it's going to be a delay or not. But everybody's saying that, he's going to fall because of all of this, concern surrounding him. He's not the only KHL player in this draft. He's not even the only Russian player in that top 5. I do not understand why everyone is wringing their hands over Demidov. My hand wringing is that Chicago looks poised to take him. That's my hand wringing.
Weirdly enough, is that they're likely going to take the other Russian, Levshinov, but...
Well, yeah, that's what... I think that's a fake out. I think that's a fake out by the Blackhawks.
I don't, but that's just me, and that's also wishful thinking. I brought this up because Cam Robinson from Elite Prospects had something that says talked to nearly a dozen teams about the Russian winger, and to a person, everyone acknowledged that he has some of the highest potential in the class. So they know he has skill and talent, but not a single team said that they would feel secure in taking him in the top 5. So he's a potential sliding candidate, which, if you're the Montreal Canadiens, great. And the concerns aren't due to where he was born. It's basically that he has spent 2 years being unchallenged in Russia because he told them, I don't want to stay here. So he's not getting KHL ice time. He's staying in the junior league. No international hockey due to IIHF sanctions due to the war in Ukraine. So they're wondering, where is his development actually at? There is so much talent there, but the concern is, do you have more work to do than it looks like on paper? Because Cam ends this, he says, so it all takes is one team to step up and swing. If I'm a betting man, I still think he goes in the top 5, but nothing is assured. The Montreal Canadiens are right in that wheelhouse, and this is the exact kind of player that this fan base and this prospect pool needs in the forward group. They have been screaming for superstar talent, caliber talent. And the whole Michkov thing last year, I am, and this is not to be mean to David Reinbacher, that last year should have been a learning moment about if something like this falls into your lap, that you take it. Because there are a lot of people that think Demidov is more talented or as talented as Michkov, which is saying a lot because Michkov's a very, very good player. If I am the Canadiens and I get there at 5, and in the way that the scouting community has talked is that it's going to go Celebrini, it's going to go Levshunov, and then it might be Salayev at 3, is there's going to be potentially Caden Lindstrom gone at 4, or Demidov gone at 4, or Beckett Seneca gone at 4. There's so many opportunities here, is that if he falls in 2-5 for whatever reason, if Columbus passes to go in favor of, let's say, Caden Lindstrom, you're welcome, Jay. Have you learned from last year? And I don't mean learned as a negative thing, because I think David Reinbacher is a perfectly fine player and a good player at that. But this is your chance to draft the best player available and fill your need at the same time.
How often are you going to draft at 5? Like, this is not an annual thing. It's just the second year in a row. But it's not an annual thing. The better you get, like, hopefully the Canadiens get to a point where top 10 is like far in the distance and we never see it, for a period of time until they're ready to rebuild. And that's the thing. Like, I think you have to swing you went safe last year. You have to swing for the fences this year.
And that's exactly what we want. You don't want to be picking top 5 next year. I know I don't, unless like one of those picks that they have traded for from somebody turns into a top 5 pick. That's a little bit different. It's just, I also don't understand why teams are like against this right now. I'm not saying the Sharks should take him over Celebrini. I'm not being nuts, but like you said, Chicago could take him, and they might. Who the hell knows? This entire draft class, like the top 2 apparently seems like it's going to be Levshunov and Celebrini. And then it's a crapshoot. And the last thing I want is someone falling out of this into somebody who's either not rebuilding, but actually retooling on the fly, or another rebuilding team around the Canadiens who can use this and then jump up a little bit. Because we know Ivan Demidov is going to be coming over sooner rather than later. You can get him into your system. He has contract through, I believe, this year, and then he's free to go.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing. That's the problem. It's because he refuses to sign an extension.
And which I understand where those quotes are coming from. Like, hey, he hasn't been challenged. It'd be like, we're going to send Cole Caulfield back to, the AHL for some reason. And he's like, what's he going to learn playing at a level that he's clearly too good for? I get the concerns, but just that upside. It's an upside that we have been begging for as fans for years now, and it's going to fall. It could potentially fall into their lap. And I'm hoping the Canadiens aren't the ones this year going, well, they could have done this, but they did this instead. Like, I don't dislike Beckett Seneca. But again, making the safe choice when the big shiny Ferrari is potentially in front of you always stings a little bit. I guess we'll find out more as we get closer and closer. Corey Pronman, who has nailed the mock drafts in the past, has had Demidov going to the Canadiens in both of his mock drafts so far, which he had Reinbacher before. So I'm hoping and praying that this turns out well. But we do have to shift one more time. We're going to jump into some free agency talk because the hockey season is now about to get really crazy for the next 3 weeks. Cup finals, the draft, free agency. Everything is about to hit the wall and then some, and we're going to start talking about that coming up next. But first, as I said off the top of the show, today's show is brought to you by the folks at FanDuel. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, the NHL Finals, the draft, everything. And you can bet it all on FanDuel because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use on everything from the Finals MVP to how many Red Sox are going to strike out against one of the worst teams in the major leagues, because that's what they do. Just visit fanduel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens, and we're going to keep transitioning forward and forward and forward. We talked about CapFriendly and how we talk about contracts and all these other things here. Coming from Elliot Friedman on the Jeff Merrick show this morning, the market, this is a little bit of paraphrasing with this, the market is good for heavier depth forwards, and I have heard 4 names: Dakota Joshua, William Carrier, Jordan Martinook, Stefan Noesen. Like, the market for those 4 guys is going to be really, really good this offseason. If you have alarm bells going off in your head right now, congratulations. You also went through the Marc Bergevin 10 years of terror and worrying about overpaying for depth forwards on things. I am slightly concerned about what the Canadiens might do, but also not in this. Laura, as someone who's been along for the ride with this too, you hear heavy bottom 6 forward, potentially, with a heavy market. And all I could think back to is that trade deadline where they traded for Steve Ott all over again.
It's not even like trading for Steve Ott. It's like, it's what assets are you giving up, whether it's in cap space or human beings. What assets are you giving up for essentially replaceable players? Like, that's the thing. I think that, there is such a thing as good bottom 6. I always say that. But at the end of the day, your bottom 6 is not that big of a deal. You just need to get players that are better than replacement. That's it. Well, what's happening now is that all these players are going to be overvalued.
And that's the thing is, I look at Dakota Joshua, who was very prominent in the playoffs and was really a standout on a Canucks penalty kill coming off a very good season. Same with Stefan Noesen, who plays in a good Carolina team that suits his style of play. I don't know as much. Jordan Martinook was the same way. I'm not so much sure about William Carey, but he was on a very good Vegas team and was a regular lineup contributor in a lot of ways. And all I can think is somebody is going to pay these guys not top line money, but middle 6 money instead of bottom 6 money, with middle 6 plus term instead of bottom 6 term. And they are going to regret it within 2 seasons. And I am partially thankful the Canadiens are still sussing their way through bad contracts right now, because I can't help but think there's going to be a bidding war around these guys, and it's buyer beware. And I don't know how teams have not learned from this yet. It truly bewilders me how teams have not learned their lesson about just some of these players here.
Like with the cap going up, I think it makes people kind of a little bit more reckless. But then at the end of the day, you're going to have to get rid of that contract at some point. And that is, to me, like the biggest deterrent. And like, again, we're talking bottom 6 players. We're not talking about generational talent. And God bless every single one of these heavy bottom 6 players. I know you have a place in the NHL. The problem is your place can be on any team, right? And that's the thing. And so, like, for me, it's just like, you miss out on that one, just wait for the next one.
I'm actually like looking at like, Dakota Joshua's numbers don't look terrible, but also this was a Canucks team that really kind of overshot their
potential.
Well, yeah, they had a huge PDO bender this year. Right. And I'm just kind of looking at, okay, so his expected goals for relative to his teammates. And he's just kind of there. he's in the top 6. It's just, I look at this and I look at some of these other players, not just Dakota Joshua. He's the one I'm most familiar with because he got highlighted so much in that Oilers series and in that series against the Predators that all I can think is, oh my God, how much are people going to pay for this? And admittedly, it's probably also the sign of a very weak free agent class, which I'm actually looking up, right now on CapFriendly, RIP soon, on some of these free agents that are going to be out there. And you have Stamkos and Reinhart at the top and Jake Gensel in there as well, Adam Henrique. But like, some of these guys are going to get paid. There's some older guys coming off of bad seasons. And all I can think is someone's going to miss out on their first swing. And what's going to happen is they're going to be like, got to get somebody to replace so-and-so. And they're going to do, like, there's some good names out there this offseason coming off of deals that, you can maybe get something on. And this is where having a good analytics staff is going to pave the way for that, I think, a little bit. I am extremely grateful that the Canadiens are a little more cash strapped than some of these other teams, because I am horrified of what might become if they're like, we're going to give Dakota Joshua or William Carrier a 4-year contract. And I don't even know how much William Carrier got paid this last year. I should probably know that, but I don't want it to be, I want to watch someone else in this division overpay for bottom 6 talent. We've already seen Toronto do it. We'll see Ottawa do it time and time and time again. And I just don't want it to be the Canadiens. I really, really don't. And Carrier is probably not going to get a huge raise. He's coming off a $1.4 million contract and coming off kind of a slower season. But at the same time, someone's going to miss out on the big fish and they're going to go spelunking for something else, I guess.
And CapFriendly will be down by that day. And so we can't even analyze it properly.
Well, yeah, RIP CapFriendly. Not yet. I mean, they said they're going to keep it up a little bit through through the free agent period. The Caps did at least allow that. How magnanimous of them. On
that note,
before I start yelling about this, we want to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on, replacements for CapFriendly? What do you want the Canadiens to do if both Caden Lindstrom and Ivan Demidov are there at 5th overall? What do you think about bottom 6 forwards getting added in free agency? You can tweet us at LO_Canadiens. Send us stuff at LockedOnCanadiens@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, obviously, at LO_Canadiens. You can follow Laura at The Active Stick. You can follow myself at Scott Matla. I will be solo hosting starting tomorrow, and we're going to start diving back into player reviews and whatever news comes up, all that and more. But we'll see you all next time.